Next up, let's take a look at the basic anatomy of the brain. Again, I'm going to kind of keep it high level here, but I want to kind of point out some of the different sections of the brain. So the brain is part of the central nervous system, and it's got its own subparts. We have a new root term here, encephalo, okay, which refers to the brain. Oftentimes, you will also see the term cerebro or cerebrum referring to this upper portion of the brain. And in this picture that I'm demonstrating, it's these little portion towards the very top that's in these four colors. So this pink, this brown, the teal, and the darker blue colors. So that portion that we often associate with that wrinkly portion of the brain, we can use two terms, either encephalo or cerebro or cerebrum. All right, the cerebrum itself is divided into sections, and that's why there are some different colors here. And these different sections are referred to as lobes of the brain. And so this portion in pink here is referred to as the frontal lobe. And this frontal lobe is just called that for the same reason. It's the portion that's right underneath your forehead or point towards the front, so it should be relatively easy to remember, right, that the frontal lobe just refers to being towards the front. Okay, next up is this lobe that is colored in brown. If you were to put your hand sort of at the top of your head, that's what we're looking at in terms of location. That lobe is referred to as the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is how you pronounce that. Next up is the occipital lobe. So the occipital lobe is found towards the back of the skull, right? If I were to say pat the back of your skull, where you feel those couple of bumps as it leads into your neck. Right underneath there is the occipital lobe, and it is here in this teal blue color. And then we're going to look at this dark blue lobe on the side, and if you were to think about it anatomically, it is just underneath your ears. And so there is one on each side of your skull, so there are a couple of temporal lobes here. But this is the temporal lobe here shown in this dark blue color. Okay, so there are really, when we talk about the cerebrum, it's that upper portion. Encephalo is also a root term that is often used to refer to this portion of the brain. And while there are much deeper structures that we're not going to take a look at here as we are focused on medical terminology, the four main lobes include the frontal lobe, parietal lobes, cerebellum, and the temporal lobes. And then just underneath that towards the back here in this light tan is this little portion that is often referred to as the little brain. That is the cerebellum. The cerebellum. Okay. And next up, we see this little portion that's kind of sticking down. What will actually happen is that this portion that is labeled next as the brain stem, okay, will eventually become the spinal cord. Here is a view of the brain stem kind of isolated here for you. So a good portion of it is tucked up and underneath those other pieces. And so I pulled it out here. There are three main portions to the brain stem. That very, very top piece that's almost hidden in the full brain picture is referred to as the midbrain. There is this section in the center that really has this outward bumped appearance, and it's pretty easy to identify because of that nice big curve out, is referred to as the pons. And then the last portion underneath the pons is referred to as the medulla oblongata. Once that medulla oblongata exits the skull, it really isn't a separate structure, but it becomes the spinal cord as it runs down through the vertebrae.